Welcome to the Professional Insight Podcast, Season 5. I don't know what the episode is.
I think 18.
18? What the hell did you pull that out of?
Well, the last invoices we got were episode invoices 16 and 17, I think.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Okay. Well, anyways, my name is Brandon Curry.
And I'm Jeff Collins.
Josh Bond.
Trevor Lindy.
Brad Johnstone.
See, you missed his cue there.
Look at that. So welcome, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in and sharing and caring. We have a special guest with us today. Very special guest. The man, the myth, the legend, the power broker of real estate in Niagara. Brad Johnstone is here with us from Royal LePage. Hello, sir.
Royal LePage NRC.
Thanks for joining us again.
Let's correct that. NRC.
Oh, Royal LePage NRC.
Right.
Who is celebrating 30 years in business as a brokerage, right?
25
Yep, 30. Oh, say it again?
You just can't take Jeff's numbers. 25. January 8th.
Well,
January 6th.
He texted me saying 30
years.
I fucked that up. That's my bad. I've been there 19 years. I didn't think it was started 5 years before me, so
6.
Can't even do math.
Shut up.
Can't even 19 years. Can't even do math. It's 25.
What?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah. So,
That's why we watch
and
his deal.
apologies. You're one of your top real estate professionals didn't even know your anniversary.
And I had a calculator right there. Look at that.
And he had a calculator right in front of him. Anyway, thanks very much for.
At the
here we go.
celebration, I was so hungover from New Year's still that I wasn't paying attention to the number. It was too close to the year. So. Go on, sorry.
With all due respects, Brad does, with his family, run the largest agency around here, right, in terms of real estate. So, you know what I mean. In seriousness, it's a huge business.
We're not talking numbers though. We're talking the best substance around here. Let's say that.
Both.
Right.
That's why people came.
So,
Insight.
Well, this is kind of cool because you're now on second generation, right, Brad? Which is kind of huge. Very few, like your mom, who I roasted, which was great. Great sport. She was amazing. We had a sellout audience. And I have to admit, very few women you can actually roast as effectively as you did your mother. Great sport. Love her to death. She's absolutely amazing. No reason I'm not, I never had any questions before, but I definitely was solidified if you had any after and why she was so successful in building the empire down in Niagara. And now you and your brother.
Give her a shout out. Who is she, Margie?
Margie Spence. But I just want to give the microphone over to yourself and to kind of give everyone a little bit of a history of how it all started and where your role and everything, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Thanks, gents, for having me. It's great. It's a family business, but my mother was a corporate manager for AE LePage and then Royal LePage. January of 98, we became a franchise, and that's when I joined my mom in that business, and we just celebrated 25 years. So she's been in.
You sure it wasn't 30? You sure it wasn't 30?
January 98.
It feels like 30 though, right, Brad? It feels like.
There we go. She was in 13 years before that. Yeah, and I was in 2. But and then after that, we grew from now the numbers here, Jeff. You write these down, so you've got them.
All right.
57 realtors. To 400, over 400 in 5 years. So we were the fastest growing company. We've bought and merged with over 9 other brokerages to keep growing. And Ryan, my younger brother, came in about 15 years ago. So now Ryan and I run the brokerage. And then in the meantime, because we weren't busy enough, I've gone up north and partnered with another partner and bought Royal LePage In Touch, which is Midland, Coldwater, Honey Harbor, McTier. And I bought Royal LePage in Barrie, Royal LePage First Contact. So we have another 150 realtors up in cottage country in Barrie. So, we've had a lot of fun. We've got 550 amazing realtors. And as Jeff alluded, for us, it really It is a family business. We treat it like family. We treat our people like family. Our clients come first, and we won't do a deal just for the money. It's more about the reputation, the realtors, and looking after our clients. So at the end of the day, we're known for being very professional, very honest, very thorough. And for realtors that don't fit that mold, they're welcome to go elsewhere because we're a family business and that comes first.
Well, I mean, having dealings with many of your 500 real estate advisors, including Tweedledee down in the right-hand corner over here. I've actually had the pleasure of going to your it was pre-COVID, I remember, at John Michael's. We went to your Christmas party awards night kind of combination. I had an absolute blast, and there was very much definitely a family feel. Definitely, I felt at home, and
That's
you
what
know,
the
and I
shots
didn't.
do for you when you hit the shots. You feel like home wherever
Well,
you
there was
are,
the
right?
shots too. But the one thing I do like about company culture, and if we want to speak to that, which I think is crazy, which is rent retention, especially on how hard. Which I'm going to get into. I'm going to ask you this question in just 2 seconds, but the retention of staff, and especially fully commissioned staff. We're going to go into that in a second, because like you've retained hundreds of advisors, long-term advisors that do extremely well in their profession. But the self-deprecating sense of humor that you and your family have, that everyone in the company had, like, there was your mom, on her way out, like, she, and she is in a throne with they're completely taking the piss, which is hilarious. But that, now working with your mother on the roast, I understand.
She's a beauty.
Yeah, it was just great to see, and I felt really at home. Josh was there, Trevor was there. We all felt the same way, because we're not technically apart. We're one of your tentacles, I guess, that you guys rely on for services, full service, right? Like you guys come.
Good
So
word for you, Curry. Tentacle.
Tentacle.
What I appreciate is you guys call it the way it is. Mom does too. This is the way it is. Take it or leave it.
Yep.
And I love that approach, right? Because I try to mimic that kind of philosophy. So
we're brutally honest, right? There's no hold it. Our family dinners are like a debate. And then when we get to the office, it's the same thing. And when you're that honest with your own realtors and your own people, we're human, we're not perfect. And at the end of the day, we just call it out. And our job is to support our realtors, right? None of my management team compete with our realtors, so that's another big perk. And just we go out and do whatever we need to do to help our realtors help our clients, right? And at the end of the day, no different than you guys. If we don't have good teams and other players that are in the deal with us, at the end of the day, consumers will go where they get the best service, the best support, and the best systems. And that's why we have all these networks with you guys, right? Because we've got a big team and a big family.
See, I think that's glazed over a little too quickly too. And if you could screen back here, I think the important thing to note here is that none of the management in our company compete with us as realtors. So there's a lot of other brokers, and I don't want to pick on certain names or anything like that. But say you're an agent working for a company, and there's a big call comes into the brokerage, and you're the owner of the brokerage, and you're also the licensed realtor there. Guess who's taking that listing?
Not Jeff.
I'm not. Well, yeah, I'm not kidding. But
especially when he doesn't get the anniversary right. I mean, why would they give him a big listing? That just doesn't make any sense.
Son of a
Royal
bitch.
LePage would.
It's because I wanted to be there for 30 years, and I could only be there for 20. That's how I thought it was 30. I was hoping it was 30.
I thought it was 19.
But the gray's not coming in. 20 this year. 20 years.
Do you color your hair?
No, I don't. I got to get gray on there. Like you can see
20 years at the same brokerage.
20 years with the same brokerage. And the reason I stay there, honestly, Brad was the one who hired me from Future Shop a long time ago. And he probably said, okay, whatever, we'll give this guy a shot. And I ended up panning out, which was nice. But it's because Brad and Ryan to me are like brothers. Honestly, they feel like brothers. If I need anything, they contact me anytime. And I'm not worried about them taking one of my listings or anything like that. Like, it's such a secure feeling to have, that if I need support on a legal issue, I can phone Josh, but I usually phone Brad first, and I'm sure he loves that. Or a technical issue or pricing issue or anything like that. They're there all the time, and they're not worried about them servicing their own clients. Like, I can't imagine working for another broker and I'm competing on the same listing for it. Like, that'd be ridiculous to me. Like, to me, it's just so far out there. I don't understand it. And you know what? There's no narcissism with our management team at all. They're completely support. And believe me, there's narcissism in real estate. And you can see that with some other brokerages too, right? But not with us. And that's why I love it. And that's why I've been there 20 years. And I'll be there another 20 until my kids are doing it, hopefully too. And they'll be there for another 20 years, you know? So be interesting.
Now, I do want to touch on the retention of staff. So we had the Great Resignation, is what they called it in 2021. Tough to recruit staff. They're now calling it the Great Regret. That article was just in Bloomberg just this morning. About 80% of the people that were polled regret leaving their profession, regret jumping ship for a couple bucks more an hour because, hey, the grass isn't greener on the other side. And hey, this is kudos to you, Brad. Your boss who's giving you the no holds bars, no bullshit kind of like, this is the way it is. This is life, honey. You know, he's actually telling you the truth. She's actually telling you the truth and is out actually for your best interest. You know, maybe you guard your little snowflake ears and, you know, toughen up there, buttercup. And that's what they're starting to see right now. That was 80% of the people who answered that survey in a couple of thousands regretted making a career change away from their longtime employer. So what have you done, Brad, and your brother Ryan, and obviously the building blocks that your mother laid? What did you do to help keep people during some pretty tough times? And you know, over 25 years, Jeff, 25, there's been some tough times. There's been multiple recessions. So go ahead.
It goes right back to family, right? We're honest. We're upfront. You know, I can tell you that when COVID hit, we locked down. We did get shut down for the first few months, and then we were deemed essential. But you know, I was the guy out buying 5-gallon jugs of sanitizer and delivering them to the branches and talking to the staff and saying, look, what makes you comfortable? What do we need to do? Set aside the political and the other stuff, right? We're running a business. And, you know, we listen to our people. I think at the end of the day, we listen to our realtors, we listen to our support staff. And when they say, hey, what could we do this? Could we do that? How can we be part of the team, part of the family? I can tell you that, you know, a lot of my realtors run fundraising events and give back to local Niagara charities. And, you know, the first people to volunteer to support those are our support staff. So they feel part of the culture. The industry is changing. You know, we've got 10 offices throughout the Niagara region, but we have to do more with less staff as well. So a few years ago, we went living wage. So we pay our people living wage numbers. It wasn't easy to do, but it's one of those things. It's the right thing to do. You want to be thankful for your support and appreciate them. We do a big support staff event every year. You know, we've made them dinner and served them in fun outfits. We've taken them axe throwing. Now what they've done is our staff come back and we've got a little group they do 2 or 3 events a year on their own without us at all, just to get out and spend some time together, because our staff are spread out throughout the Niagara region and they don't see each other. You know, I'd say a lot of people hate Zoom, or they were zoomed out, but quite honestly, I can have a support staff meeting now and have all 10 of my staff on a meeting and have an honest chit chat every couple of weeks, where, you know, 3 years ago, it wasn't that easy. So it goes right back to listen to your people, give them what they want. If they aren't happy, they are going to leave. And if they are happy and they see value, that's great. We've had a few leave and come back because, again, we do have a great culture. And, you know, I guess the big thing for us is just being open and honest. Hey, guys, we got a bit of a blip here, and I guess we'll get into that in a bit. And we got to get through, you know, the last half of last year and the first half of this year. But don't worry, we're solid. The family's here. You know, we don't have debt because Mom and I paid that off early on. The first 3 years, you know, she wouldn't even pay me. I had to work for and you know, so we're good.
Working for family, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, the first year was like, how much can you live on? I'm like, I don't know, maybe 20 grand. And she's like, great, that's your salary. I'm like, no. That was a mistake.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Paid off, though. Paid off.
Well, yeah, she doubled it the next year to 40, which was amazing. Like, that was great.
Yeah.
It's a windfall.
You won the lottery, right?
Yeah, I didn't have to take my bike to work. I could get a car.
People don't understand a lot of that, though, Brad, right? Like, they don't understand the growth and the 1,000 cuts that you take on the way up, right? And you know, they look at you now sitting in a throne and saying, you know what, look at that son of a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? He's got life so good by the balls, right?
Well, I always tell people, don't compare someone's chapter 25 to somebody's chapter 5, right? Like there's a whole journey you got to get to there. And I come up with that a lot when I work with a lot of young guys in our company. All that, like, oh, I want to have a big house. Like, I'm like, you should see the house I lived in for way too long to get there, right? And the sleepless nights. Like, as a real estate agent, I'm sure as a broker even more, there's some sleepless nights out there where you're like, oh my God, I cannot turn off this brain, you know, like that's when you want the scotch or some edibles or whatever the hell you got to do to get to sleep, right?
Or both.
People don't see that. Like that. I think that's a real estate affliction, is not being able to sleep at night. It's brutal. Like some of the nights are terrible.
I don't think it's just real estate. It's every entrepreneur, right? Whether you're a lawyer, a financial, it doesn't matter what business you're in. We've all got it. We're just, our model's a bit unique in that we've got 550 type A personality, self-employed drivers with a team of, 6 managers and 30 support staff trying to keep them all on. It's like, we call it herding cats, really, is what we call it when behind closed doors. So
do you think all realtors are type A? There's a lot of them that aren't type A out there for sure.
No, but I'd say probably half of the company's type A, and then you've got a mix of others. But the type A's are the ones that are always on you, right? Like Jeff, he's like nonstop, text, call, text, call. Get
the hell out of here! I bug you when I have a problem. That's it. I'm so drunk. See, that's one of the things I like about being a Royal LePage. To be honest, I've had other brands try to recruit me and all that, but Brad will leave me alone. If I don't want to be bugged at all, he'll leave me alone. If I need help, I'm there for support. If I don't show up to the company barbecue, he's not like, where the hell were you? You got to be there and support that. It's like he realizes I have a family, and he knows it's important to me too. And we talk about it all the time, raising kids and being married and going through life and trying to juggle the demands of real estate. It's hard. And so I don't get in shit if I don't show up to a meeting. He'll laugh at me because he's like, I just covered that last meeting. You should have been there, you schmuck. And whatever, it is what it is, right? But
and that's justifiably so.
Yeah.
That's another benefit of Zoom, right? Jeff can watch that video of my meeting while he's on the treadmill or whatever he's doing.
Yeah, the Peloton.
The Peloton.
It's the throne.
That's what they need to do is I could Zoom it. I can watch stuff on Peloton. That'd be good. But Brad, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. The type A personalities, you're seeing it, and maybe you can speak more to this. There's a big change to teams now in real estate. And that's come the last 3-4 years. And you see that some of the top agents now that have been an individual for so long, I see them grouping with another top agent. It's happened in our brokerage a couple of times. I don't want to point out the names and all that. But is that where you see it's going the next 5 years, or?
It's the same. It's the funny part is, so, if you look back, right, I've been a realtor for 27 years. When we started out, before we were a franchise, Mom was a corporate manager, and Royal LePage Canada said you can have 24 realtors in your office. That's it. That was the limit. And if you want to hire a 25th, you had to fire somebody. And so what you see now is these teams getting together because they're getting more specialized, right? So they're running big websites, they're running promotions, they're going to other realtors and saying, look, you join my team, I'll give you leads, and you're going to be on a lower split, but you're going to get these services from me. And I look back 25 years ago, and that's exactly what we had as a small brokerage. So all they've done is re-brought out that small brokerage mentality. Come work on my team, I'll feed you some business. But with this downturn, you're going to see a bit of a pressure on that as well, because the benefit of a team is they can grow more business. They can have specialized people working on different areas of the business, if you will. Whereas as an individual, you're sort of responsible to do everything and or hire people to help you. But the risk then is you've got all these people on the payroll that you're paying expenses for and responsible for, and all of a sudden the leads dry up and it's not so easy. So you're seeing a shift both ways. But yeah, the future is definitely bigger teams, more organized, CRMs, very organized client follow-up, relationship-based systems. It's all the stuff we've taught for 20 years. It's just the teams are taking it to the next level.
Brad, have you seen a downturn in the number of active agents coming out of this?
I just won lunch from one of my realtors who thought he wanted to take me on. So no, you know what? We went. This is the test I give everybody, because we had to go back in the archives and look. So last year there was, let's say in June, I think it was 1,551 realtors in the Niagara Association of Realtors, right? So that's all of Niagara.
Yep.
And at the end of December, we were down 16 net. So between new people getting in, people getting out, we were only down 16 realtors, which is peanuts.
Nothing. Margin
The
of error.
question for you guys is, how many realtors do you think were in the 3 boards then? Because we've combined 3 since. But in 1989, how many realtors do you think there were serving the Niagara region?
Was there any overlap?
1/5.
Well, give me a number. Let's pick a number.
700.
500.
250.
1,800 realtors.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
So in 1989, there were 1,800 realtors in the 3 boards. As of June of last year, 1,550 something, and we're
No
down.
shit.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to have a transaction to qualify as a realtor, or just a licensed realtor? That's what they're
No,
counting.
you're licensed to trade. But the difference then is in 89, you could get your real estate license in a couple months. And that was the last big boom. So a lot of people were, getting that. And we're seeing that now. Again, Ryan does our recruiting and our onboarding. And we used to hire about 80% of the people that applied to our brokerage. Now we hire 50. Because there's so many people coming in and going, I got this other full-time job and I want to be a realtor because I heard they get paid really well.
Yeah.
They can do a couple deals a year, and I want to make that money. I want to buy a house, or I want to flip something. And we're focused on full-time professional. We hire people with other commitments transitioning into full-time. But basically what we want to know is if you're going to join our family business and put our name and our reputation on the line, you're going to be full-time in the next 2 years. And, Jeff's a prime example. He came to me. He's like, I'm at Future Shop. I'm like, quit. He's like, I can't. I got to support my family. I said, quit. And he's like, no, they give me benefits. And I'm like, okay, we'll work something out. And honestly, like Jeff and I had this conversation. He made the bulk of his money in like that Christmas season, right? Up to. And the rest of the year, he's focused on real estate. And then he finally came to me. He's like, you're right. I'm cutting the cord. I'm getting in. And Jeff, how much did business go up when you really...
That's not how it went. Future Shop went out of business. I got paid too much at Future Shop. They said, you're done. Here's a big check. And I said, fuck it. I'm going to give it my best shot at real estate. And my career took off like that after I went full-time. Like that. It was night and day. Because,
right, yeah, but when part-time to full-time...
Well, what are you going to do? See, I could show you that house and potentially make a $15,000 commission, but I've got a 3-hour shift slinging radios at Future Shop. It didn't work. Like if you want to be a real estate agent, and really if someone calls you, but you've got to be there right away, because if you're not showing the drive to get that person out and bugging them and constantly, you're the straw that stirs the drink for the buyer or the seller. Like everybody has an idea of buying and selling, but you got to be on them when they have it, right? Like as soon as you got to be like a dog on a bone and just be there all the time to show it and say, when can you see it? When can you meet? You got to be like that, because 2 weeks go by and then they forget about it for a year. Right? You can't do that when you have a part-time job. You just can't. It's a full-time job plus 50%. That's what real estate is. If you want to make it big.
I also want to acknowledge your son of man print there.
My what?
Brad.
It's behind Brad. It's Brad. Yeah.
And it's true. It's like any business, though. You guys are all in the same business, right? It's about people. You can't do, honestly, some people can successfully do it part-time, but most can't. Because if you love it, you'll get the returns on it, and the investment's natural, right? Jeff loves it, but he's good at it because he's also invested in it, and he looks after his clients. And, whether I'm on holidays, he's on holidays, we're all available now. And, I make the decision to answer phone calls from my realtors because it gives me some freedom to go do other things, right? I was in Collingwood at a charity event yesterday, did a couple meetings in the morning, went to the charity event, got up this morning, blasted back to the office, jumped on with you guys. Like, that's life now.
Yeah. Like for me, I go anywhere except for Cuba. I got to bring my laptop and my phone, and I get that daily phone thing, right? So it's like the same phone. Cuba, the internet just sucks. So I don't. It's the best trip ever. We go to Cuba, but then when you get back on the plane in Canada, it's like 200 emails and voicemails and stuff. But yeah, you got to be out. You got to be plugged in 24/7.
Well, I think
that's the appeal of the teams, though. You got someone else
Well,
that takes
that's
the burden. I can see. But if you're a micromanager like me, I can't. I just don't know if I can say here. This
we know, Jeff. You keep complaining, and we keep telling you to hire a team, and you just never do. But anyway,
you got to
wait for the boys.
So for Jeff's point, when you go from being an individual realtor to a team, now you're getting more into managing people and less day to day, and now you got a different set of headaches, which typically most realtors aren't prepared for. So they have to change that mindset and start delegating. And now it's not, it has to be perfect. Now it's got to be, you did a good job and that's good enough for the team, because everybody does things differently.
Yeah, like I recently had a kid I was mentoring a little bit, and he hunted me out, and Roy LePage kind of applied it on me. And I told him, this is what you got to do to it. And I said, look, do you want to be an alpha or do you want to be a beta, right? So basically you want to be a team leader or you want to be someone who works under a team. And there's a lot of, honestly, I'm not want to put down anyone who's on a team, because if I could go back in time when you hired me at Future Shop, and if I could have been under a team to get some quicker experience.
Good start.
Good start, because the hardest thing in real estate, and this is the problem, there's a lot of young realtors are out there. They want to get hired from a brokerage and they're just expecting like sale after sale passed to them all the time. But we get paid for production, right? So, we earn a commission on production by producing for people. But you want to get paid. Brad always said, you want to raise, go sell more houses. That was the easiest thing you want to do. But go get it. It's not coming to you. You got to go get it until you get so much of it that then it comes to you, right? It's not like, where's my sales? Where's my listing? Where's my buyers? Why is someone going to come to you, right? And
we're not all hunters though, Jeff, right? So that's why
I know, but sometimes you've got to be trained a little bit by a hunter.
Yep.
And then you're released into the wild on your own, right?
Yeah,
so
then you recognize
I can see
that you're
the
a
value
hunter.
of being on a team. But it depends. Like my mindset is, I honestly, I don't think I could work for somebody. Like I work with Brad. I'm not working for Brad. I'm a broker. He's my broker and all that. But now that I have another client right now that it's another broker from Toronto. I hope they're not listening to this, but whatever. I'm going to say it anyways. And they want me to run point for them down here to buy a couple properties and all that. And like they're literally phoning right now. And I got to do conference calls with them every time and all that. And I'm like, oh my God, leave me alone. I would rather say bye to this commission because I can't handle this, and it's everything they can do because I want to run the show on it, right? But the team aspect coming up there right now, I can see some young agents out there, and this is the problem. A lot of young agents come in, they're not getting a bunch of sales handed to them. They go to a different broker, and they don't get a bunch of sales handed to them. They go to a different broker, they go through 5 brokers, and they're essentially blaming all the brokers, which you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, go get that business. That's what it comes down to it, and make yourself something that people want to call because you're a value, right? And
but you're dealing with population that
time.
Got participation rewards the whole time, right? So they're not accustomed to necessarily performing well. They're accustomed to performing mediocrity.
The thing you got to realize now is that up until a couple of years ago, the teams were mostly informal. When you join a team now, 90% of those teams have an agreement, no different than whether you're starting articling with a law firm or financial, doesn't matter. They're all the same. But, you might be on a 50-50 split with a team lead, but that business is theirs. So you get some experience from them, absolutely. But if you leave, that stays with the lead agent. It's in his CRM. Those are his clients or her clients. You walk out the door, you're starting your business again from fresh with no clients, but some experience. And that's sort of where you got to be careful, because it's easy to go, I got some great experience, but you don't have any clients. You got to go out and build that again.
Yeah. So it's starting all over.
Well, but you get some experience, but you don't have a client list because that's owned by the lead agent.
So it's interesting because I think it's almost personality dependent, really.
You got it.
So
you got to be a hunter.
I mean,
I like the hunter-gatherer because that's true.
Well, and nobody also, keep in mind too, like our industry before the real estate industry, like I according to the MFDA and we're not allowed to hold a second job. Anyone that's reputable in our industry, and here it is, and this applies to real estate. Nobody wants to see their pension manager slugging beers at a bar on a Saturday night. Nobody does. Like who in the right? Yeah, if it's a buddy and you're both in your 20s, then who really cares? But anyone that's serious and anyone of significance, they don't want to see that because it doesn't give them a lot of confidence in who you are and what you are as a professional. Same goes for real estate. Am I really going to choose somebody who's slugging beers to sell my multi-million-dollar home? The answer is no, because obviously they're not doing enough. Perception's 100% a reality. They're not doing enough to make a living at it. So how good are they going to be in selling my big ticketed item? Right. And teams, obviously, it boils down to what you said, Brad, and that is customer service and basically making sure that, someone can get a hold of somebody at any point in time, which is huge. Again, like it's the, majority of Canadians, the biggest purchase that they'll ever make is their home. Yeah. And it means a lot to people. So if you're not treating it with the same integrity and value that others are, well, you're not going to get the business, right? But on buying that, what mortgage rates right now are, they're high. They're
Did they go
highest
down?
they've been.
Did the overnight go down at all from the banks?
Overnight? No, it went up by a quarter of a basis point.
I thought so, but then I got an adjustment today on a 5-year. It went down 0.15.
Oh yeah, on a
Yeah, but
5-year
fixed.
because they.
Fixed.
Yeah,
5-year
that's fixed
fixed.
though, and they use the so
Those are
basically you've got the yield curve
0.515.
inverting right now. So a 5-year government of Canada Treasury bill as of yesterday was at at one time during the day was at 3.11%, which is one of the vehicles that they use to figure out what their fixed is. So
I just had
very
a
well
5-year.
gone down.
I just had a 5-year adjusted from 4.89 to 4.75.
Oh, that could definitely happen. So, Brad, in your opinion, where do you see mortgage rules, stress tests going? Where or what are you hearing?
Can we please get rid of the stress
to-
test? Get rid of the stress test. That's what I want. Please.
Won't happen.
But
They are
it
reevaluating
won't
it.
happen.
Yeah. I don't actually have a problem with the stress test because, of course, when the market shifted, all my guys and our clients, of course, are calling nonstop going, what is going on? And, the first thing I said to them was, you qualified for an interest rate 2% higher than you actually paid. So now you can afford it because the interest rates went up a couple percent. You're not going to lose your house because you qualified to carry that. So, at the end of the day, the government's going to do what they need to do. You guys all know, but we're owned by Royal LePage, which is owned by Brookfield. Brookfield's twice the size of Warren Buffett's conglomerate. And so, Phil Soper's right 90% of the time on his forecasting, more accurate than CMHC. So we always go to Phil. And, what Phil's telling us is Q1 and Q2 are going to be down for this year. Q3 and 4 will pick up. And the end of this year, we're going to be down 2% in price. So to me, it's a nice soft landing. Phil's saying that the Bank of Canada next announcement will be no increase. And I get from that, what we're going to see is a little spur in the market because, we've got all these people going, I want to time the bottom. I'm going to time the bottom. I want to get the low price and the better interest rate, and I want to win everything. And, so I say you can't win. I've been in the business 2 years, and I've never been able to time it. But when you see that second time they don't raise rates, you're going to see another blip on the market, and it's going to go again. I don't think it'll go as nuts as it did 2 years ago because, quite honestly, that was insane. And it wasn't good for anybody. Like you're selling and getting 200 over asking, great. You sell in 8 hours, and then you go out and try to buy, and you're stressed out. 200 over asking, lose out 4 times. Jeff and all of our guys are freaking out. The buyers are terrible, and
no conditions at all, no inspections, right? No financing.
Yeah, no appraisals.
No appraisal. Jesus, right? Murphy, it's crazy world. It was a crazy world.
And so now we'll get back to a nice. And in my mind, if we're going to go up 3, 4, 5% a year, we need some more inventory, but people are scared. And until we see those next 2 Bank of Canada no increases, that's going to bring the economy back around and get some positive media, right? Like Jeff saw my social media post this week. And if you look at social media, the sky's falling. If you look at the actual mortgage numbers, other than downsizing, you should be doing everything. You should be buying, first time buying, setting up your kids, investing, because the lower purchase price is a lower down payment, a lower mortgage payment, a lower mortgage balance, and even the interest rates, the payments are still lower. So, tell me what I'm missing.
So really, you're trying to time the bottom of the market. We're pretty much there right now.
We're very close.
2%, you're there. So get up, It's not going to stay like this forever. You can feel signs of it picking up already.
What did I text you yesterday, Jeff?
Well, yeah, get off your ass, start showing me houses. I know, but March 8th is the next big announcement, right? And there's no way they can raise it, but they could technically, right? So are people just waiting by saying, well, Canada's been full of shit for a while now about their interest. Like they said they're not going to raise it at all in 2022. So why are we trusting what Canada's saying?
Let's have a wager.
No, I know they're not going to do it March 8th, but let's say, and
we're up 4.5 already. If you look on the global scale, I don't know how many other countries have bumped it that much, right?
Not many.
right? Lower, right? They're taking a slower approach to it. We went,
but if you look at the last 3 years, when was it the busiest time the last 3 years? It was right around the end of February, early March, right? So pandemic hit, March 11th, everything shut down. We were crazy bonkers just before it shut down with the COVID. And then the following year, we're kind of settled into the pandemic and people were going nuts buying everything, right? And that was the biggest year the next year, February, March. And then last year, February, March, it was the biggest. And then it had the massive drop for 30% price.
Right after
price
February,
correction, right?
right after
But
February.
where we are right now, we're right at March 8th, where they're about to announce, okay, finally, we're not going to do an interest raise, which everybody's holding their breath, everyone's timing the market, but it's gearing up for a little bit of a pickup February, March. So what happens if it goes a little bit crazy again? Do they hammer it down the following time in April when they have to do a rate change?
No.
You don't think so?
Let's wait.
You want to here?
I don't want to. I'm not going to wager. You know,
I'm going to share my screen right now. I'm going to share my
Come on,
screen.
muffled voice boy.
Here we go. Window. This right here is all the big five banks: Scotia, TD, BMO, RBC, and CIBC. Economists, what they're actually forecasting for changes. So Q1 of this year, not going to see changes. 2, 3, Q4, 2 of the 5. So Scotia and TD, who play in the world, are anticipating that we're going to have a couple of decreases. You can see, obviously, they're different on size, but everybody else. That's Q4 of 2023.
Q4.
That Scotia and TD economists right now, based on the data and what they're seeing out there and all the data that they've been analyzing, they're anticipating drops. Q1 of 2024, you can see everybody's anticipating a drop.
So the message to our audience then is just be very mindful of the mortgage terms that you're entering into at this point in time, right? With this, forecast, because you don't want to get into a 5-year term at 5% if you're going to have a drop off or a forecasted drop off within the next 6 months or so.
But
just
be
leery of it.
That means they're trying to stimulate business, though, right? So they're anticipating a slower market in those times.
But that's what we're going right back to. You don't want to miss the market.
Yeah, so get buying.
The next 2 announcements are zeros. And then if you look at Trevor's info, which is what I'm seeing too, what we're saying is you need to buy before June. Because once the market starts to go, you missed. And then, what are you saying, Trevor? Lock in for 1 or 2 years, maybe 3, because you're going to watch the rates come down and then you want to renew when the rates are down.
Yeah. My recommendation that I'm giving to anybody right now, if they're thinking fixed, they should be looking 1, 2 year fixed, 3-year max. Part of the reason I'm saying even right now, more the 1 year conversation, because of how cyclical our rate cycle is to U.S. federal elections, specifically presidential tickets, which is November 2024. Right. Yep. So why would you want to be locking in for a longer period of time
when Trump comes back?
What's that?
When Trump comes back?
Well, I'm not even getting into that. I'm just saying because
I'm not religious.
Such a strong trade partner of ours, you got to be careful, right? Like there's so much uncertainty around elections. Who's getting in? Is it Republican? Is it going to be a Democrat? And it creates such uncertainty for us here that we always see a softening. So yeah, absolutely having that 1, 2 year fixed conversation, 3 max. Very rarely do I have somebody that wants to go 5 at the moment, but because 5-year rates have come down, they're in the 4% range now. They're so competitive, and Bond even alluded to it earlier, getting a notice for a rate decrease. There are people that want it. The other side of the coin is, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you go variable? Right? It's a little uncertain, right? There's a chance it may go up again. Yes, you're going to be paying a higher rate right now, but if you can get a sizable enough discount at this point, do you jump and go variable and just ride out the storm?
What discounts are they offering right now, Trev?
I think the best is prime minus 90. So that would be an insurable 65% loan to value or insured less than 20% down.
Okay. Now, Trevor, I got a question for you. Everyone was worried about everybody handing in their keys because they'd all be losing their houses with the interest rate changes. I don't see any of this happening at all.
No.
So this was the big thing that a lot of buyers were out there saying, I'm just going to wait until all these keys are handed in and there's all these deals going on. That hasn't happened.
You can go back. No. It's a load of BS completely.
Well, it's scare tactics in the media, bullshit, clickbait.
Yeah.
Well, 18 months, 2 years of this,
Canadian-
18 months or 2
Unlike-
years of this, you'll see that.
No,
For sure.
No, unlike the US, you can go back 30 to 40 years of data and unequivocally, even during the boom and bust of the oil in Alberta, it hasn't even been 10% of 1% of the population that has walked away on their mortgages. It has been astronomically low. Canadians pay their mortgages first historically, have been, always will. And the reason being, to Brad's original point, we have such high, rigorous standards to get mortgages. We always have, and then even more so than we do right now, than we did before. So to Brad's point, is like, what are you worrying about? You qualified at 2% higher. Like, obviously, well then stop spending it on whatever you're spending it on, because
Starbucks.
you mathematically can actually afford the payment.
Gummies and whiskey.
Right? And so it's completely bollocks. That's Armageddon is not happening. And we see this in the financial industry. It is kind of ironic when you have that person, let's call him Jeff. We'll call this guy's name Jeff, okay?
Good looking guy.
And this person is freaking out at the market's going up and down, up and down. And Brad, I mean, you kind of alluded to this. You're already in the market for something. You're already looking for something. Hey, guess what? It's 15% off. Everything else in society we buy when there's a discount. But for some reason, when it comes to massive purchases like pensions and or homes, we all of a sudden just go, oh, wait, I'm going to wait. Why?
People are
You're
scared.
in the market already. Yeah, but
Fear, right?
Scared for, but that's, you got to put the blinders on and just listen to a professional.
It's scared. Did you see the boo-hoo story of the lawyer who bought the Madame Homes houses? He bought $2.45 million houses, put down $800,000 on them, and now they're selling the same houses for lower than that. Like, he speculated on it, he got burned, so he's protesting at Madame Homes and all that. Have you seen that article? It's everywhere right now. But the people are roasting him on social media because they're saying, "Oh, this poor, no offense, Bond, this poor lawyer, he's in his like Speedos and all this stuff, and he's got drinking wine and all that." But he's mad because he bought at the peak of the market for builds. It hasn't closed yet, and the value of his house at the same place now is being sold for less than it is that he bought it at. So he's protesting, saying, "I want my money back. I'm getting screwed. The Bank of Canada screwed me. Madame Homes screwed me. Everybody screwed me because it's not worth this." But it's funny because as builders, when we were building 2 years ago, we firmed up, and you know this, Bond, we firmed
100%.
up six houses in Dane City. We sold them all from $625 to $675. And then a year later, we handed them all their keys worth $850. Did we get any of that? No, we got none of that. And we actually made less profit because the materials skyrocketed too, right? But now there's a lot of builders out there who have locked in these deals and they haven't finished the houses yet. And the buyers are mad because the house isn't worth as much as they paid for. But that's speculation on new builds, right? When you're buying pre-builds, there's nothing you can do about it. None of you guys saw that article with the Madame Homes?
Yeah,
I know what you're referring to.
We did.
Yeah.
But Jeff, go right back to the fact that it's all about speculation, right? You just said it yourself. If you buy and sell in the same market, right, you're going to look and go, I'm going to sell for 200 over asking, I'm going to buy for 200 over asking. Great. And what our people were doing was, and they were going, I'm going to sell now, right? Or sorry, I'm going to buy now and pay 100 over asking. I want to wait 3 months and time the market for my other house to go up in value and then list it. And those are the guys that got burnt, but it's no different than the stock market. You go in, you take your risk, you buy your stock, right? But, professional realtors, we were saying to people, buy and sell in the same market. Don't wait because you're going to get burnt. And don't buy above what you can. We had people out buying 2 and 3 houses on speculation because prices were going up so quickly. And they never even thought about getting mortgage approvals, right, Trevor? Like, go, I did this. What can you do to save me now? Yep. And they weren't. They were buying and selling in different markets. If you have a professional realtor, you listen to good advice. All the graphs we're sharing right now show the fact that everything's lower. The price, the payment, the rates are higher, but everything else offsets. And you go to somebody like Trevor and say, I wanted to buy a house for $1 million. It's now worth 750. How does the math work? It's a win. I'll tell you right now, it's a win every time.
Yeah.
But here's a good segue to what you just brought up there. Breaches are all over the place right now because people have bought, haven't closed yet, and now the value's way down. And I'm dealing with right now, and all you guys know who I'm talking about. And I've talked to you, Brad and Josh, and that's happening right now.
Did that shore up?
It's a sale of property right now, right? So we're trying to sell it, but it's going to be litigated after the fact. And I don't put too much details in it, but I'm hearing that's a fairly common story right now too, because of people who tried to time the market and now they're screwed and now they're trying to hand in their keys before, but you don't get off the hook that easy. Like it's
not
crazy
common, Jeff. Not just
no. Very. You hear about the stories more often, so it sounds common, but it's
more common than it was before.
Yeah.
Right. And let's be honest, most of it's new build, very little resale, right? Like when it stopped dead last year, and you guys were all calling me, we had maybe 100 deals where they had already bought, they hadn't sold, and I would say we maybe had 5 deals not closed. Yeah. The other 95 all found a way. Now, new builds would be the exception because they're like, here's my $50,000 deposit. See you later. And then they talk to their lawyer and they go, no, it is not that. But I've preached big deposits for years. You need a 5%, 3 to 5%, but I like a 5% deposit because that's skin in the game, sit in my trust account. A lot of people won't walk from that. But now we're looking at lawsuits on new builds of 200 to 500,000 because prices have come down 25%. And can you sue somebody? Sure, you can sue them. But what are you looking at, Josh? 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, it really all depends, right? And I mean, listen, you never want to get into a lawsuit, period, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
Unless you're a lawyer.
No, well, yeah. No.
Hourly.
But.
Build every 6 minutes.
It's costly, it's stressful, and guaranteed that neither party is going to feel fully successful.
And the drag of 2-3 years can really upset your life.
If you get it resolved fully within 2-3 years from start to finish, you're actually doing pretty good.
We can hear you, Curry.
Yeah,
you want to address the couple of comments?
Yeah, we have a bunch of questions that we have to address. We got you mad, bro? No, we're not mad. But thanks for watching the show and doing a question. Fellas, love the show. Is it a buyer's or a seller's market? I'll direct this to Brad right now. I'd love to buy right now because prices are low, but the interest rates are effed. Is it anyone's market? And then he follows up with, all I can afford is an old crack house on Barton Street in Hamilton. Love you, buddy. That's hilarious.
So, at least you know it's Hamilton area, right, Brad?
At least
so you
we know he's close to Niagara.
Bon, we should look at that Barton Street one. That could be a good flip.
100% could be a flipper for me.
Could be a good flip.
So go ahead, Brad, and then we'll answer skills on the fly.
You know, honestly, it's been a seller's market, as you guys know, the last 2.5 years. I would say now it's a buyer's market, right? Our stats are showing that it's a buyer's market, but the big challenge is still getting our sellers to listen and come out and price right. So buyer's market, Q1 and Q2 of this year, Q3 and 4, I think it's going to level out and probably be more of a balanced market. We're short on listings, right? So we're short on inventory. And of course, as soon as these buyers come back to market, as we all know, it's supply and demand. So right now, in my mind, there's a sweet spot from now until June 1st. Again, like people are saying interest rates, don't worry about the interest rate. You're listening to the media. I don't care what the interest rate is. If the prices are down 25%, it far more offsets that interest rate, right? And Brandon can talk about that, or you guys can talk about Trevor. But at the end of the day, there's a sweet spot in the price. And by June, it's going to start to move up. And if we get a flood out of GTA like we saw last time, you're going to see it go on fire and you'll be back into multiples and 100 over asking. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope we come back, nice soft landing, inventory picks up, buyers pick up, prices start to carry, and then we're doing offers with appraisal, finance, home inspection, and back to that nice market that Niagara enjoyed the last 25 years up until 3 years ago.
And you can feel right now the GTA people are coming down again. Yeah. They just started recently. They're coming down and buying again.
Listen, we live in one of the best places in Canada, period. Right? Like
world.
Like our proximity to the GTA, to the States, the climate that we experience here, second to none, right? Like in terms of the seasons that we get. Listen, my honest to God opinion, 20 years in the business, is that you're going to see blips like in every market. You're going to see ups and downs. You're going to see certain little cycles come through. But real estate, generally speaking, in the Niagara region, is still undervalued. That's my honest to God opinion, right?
Totally agree with you.
Toronto is a global competitor, right? It's a huge global competitor, and I think our real estate prices are sound, and they're only going to be going up. And I agree with Brad. Listen, right now you're buying discount. Right now you're buying discount, and I personally am looking. You know what I mean? And Jeff can attest to that. So
well, and people want 25. It's 25% off right now, but they want 27, and they're going to hold up that long at 27, and then it's going to go to 15%, and you're going to lose 10%.
Then you're going to miss. You're going to miss. You're going to miss.
But at the end of the day, those types of people always end up getting burned. Just like what Brad just finished saying, you can't time the market. It's time in the market. You look at any index chart for any index, New York Stock Exchange, Toronto Stock Exchange, it consistently goes up. Same with housing prices. They consistently go up. They consistently appreciate in value.
I could have bought
in 5 years.
If you
I could have bought
looking,
a 1,200 square foot home for 150 grand on Chetwood in 2015.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it because I was negotiating that they put an additional exit window out the basement. 150 grand. That
You look back now what that's worth. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right? So I missed out because of my own stupidity, right?
Like I heard it on the radio the other day. The best way to look at the interest rates, how they've kind of settled in that spot right now, is how gas went. Remember, gas went way up to $2, and we were at $1 forever. And now we're settled back in at $1.40, and everyone's like, "Oh, $1.40, whatever. That's pretty good, right?" But at first, when it went to $1.40 from $1, you're like, "Holy shit! I'm not gonna be able to afford a car. I gotta get electric." Blah 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 blah. Went up to $2, and now we're like, "Oh my god, I love $1.40 again," right? It's the same thing with the interest rates. They're gonna settle back down eventually, but they're not gonna be at that 2% again, like that dollar.
And that's what we're seeing, right? Like so to kind of you Mad Bros question about interest rates, we have. The bond yields have started settling because they do not feel that the market can continue to sustain rates as high as what they are. So interest rates have come down. We are seeing rates, a credit situation, insured or insurable, like I had mentioned previously.
We're in
4.5%. We're, I shouldn't say 4.5 to be specific, but we're, 4.74, 4.64. There's a couple of lenders with some rate specials.
I bought an 05. Mine was 5.7.
Well, if people want to tighten up their butthole, look at the construction financing right now. You're 10 to 12% on everything. It's crazy. So you want to tighten that butthole, talk to my company about what we're borrowing money for to build. But we're still borrowing at 12% because we know we're going to make money on it because it's real estate.
Even if you're putting down if you're putting down 20%, you're doing a 30-year AM. Lenders are offering 5.25%, right? So B space, you're definitely going to be in the 6-7%. That's where it is right now, unfortunately. But if you are in the A space, and it's all relative, right? Like when we had A rates at 1.5%. Our B rates were at 2.5%, 3%.
Sure.
Right. So it's all relative depending on where you are. But now we've got life skills on the fly.
Life skills on the fly. Agree. I'm 31, and if I want a detached home, it's over $1 million, and anything under $1 million is a full gut on the inside, and I get outbid by developers who are tearing down and rebuilding. I have zero confidence that I'll ever own a home. Now
it's got to be in GTA. It's got to be
probably
in GTA.
Oh,
yeah.
GTA.
So I'll basically say on the investment side, I'll give you some inside baseball that a lot of people need to understand, and this will then piggyback on what Brad's probably going to say. You got to get into the market. You have to. Here's why. Some inside baseball to everyone.
Yeah.
Anytime you go to a bank or an investment advisor and you tell them this money is to buy a home within the next 3 to 5 years, automatically the algorithm within your risk profile goes conservative, which means I can only manage your money, and at best on a conservative portfolio, 3, maybe to 7%, but we haven't seen 7% bond rates, 8% bond rates since the mid-90s. So put that into perspective. What's homes growing at? Double digits. All right, with the exception of 2022, home rates are growing at high single, low double digits in general, which means, yes, everyone would love to have a detached home. But the only way to get your equity and your net worth to grow at the same rate is to get into the market and buy that dump, and buy quote unquote dump, or buy that condo or something like that you can afford easily, so that your debt to equity ratio and your equity keeps growing, and you have more of a down payment to put down.
All tax free.
Tax free. As a financial advisor, I can't do it. My hands are tied. The regulators have come in and made that. So, Brad, if you want to go with that.
Yeah, you know what? Condo's great. A lot of people don't want them. Competing with developers, that's their business. So you're dealing with the professionals in that area. But you know what we're recommending to clients as well is buy a duplex, a triplex, buy a house, put an in-law suite in the basement, rent it out. If you're living there, it's all legal, right? Get your permits. But at the end of the day, buy something that's bringing in other income. So now you can qualify to buy more, live there for 2-3 years, and then buy that big house that you want and keep the other one as an investment. Because again, rental incomes are amazing. You know, when you go to get your approvals, if you've got income from an in-law suite or from a rental unit, the next thing that's coming is all these garden suites. So you're going to see people cranking in garden suites in the backyards. And again, charging a couple grand a year or a month and offsetting their mortgage costs.
That's going to look so interesting. These garden suites everywhere. It's going to be so condensed. It'd be interesting.
Keep in mind to use that income. Obviously, it's got to be a legal suite, legal unit. So if you have that, that's great.
Services, right?
Yeah. The comment about a full gut job, in all honesty, something really worthwhile looking at is purchase plus improvements. You're not going to have a lot of banks talk to you about a purchase plus improvement mortgage. To be honest, you may not even have a lot of brokers, in my space talking to you about purchase plus improvements, because the reality is, Scotiabank as an example, they don't pay me until the improvements are done. So I can close the transaction for you March 1st, but it takes you until, July 1st to finish it. I'm not getting paid till July. So depending on the broker, maybe they're newer to the business, they're hungry, but can't afford to go that long without getting paid. Maybe they're not even going to talk to you about it. And it's a great way to build the cost of the renos into your purchase.
See, we've got a client right now that we're doing it with, Trevor, right? And it was 40 grand. They redid the whole house, basically.
Yeah.
Like the whole, not everything on it, but like the cosmetics on the inside.
Yep.
And for 40 grand on a gut job, when they borrowed that on the house, we did negotiate money off the list price because the house is such a shithole.
But was he good on the tools?
I don't remember, 15 grand off or whatever. And then, so 25 grand more. But if they live there 2-3 years, they're going to make significant money. Then they can go on to the next house. The problem is there's so many buyers out there that want to move right into that third tier house. And you can't. You got to crawl before you walk before you run before you sprint.
Unless you take a big pause like you did, Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Mine was different because I had to fund a build company, right? That's why I did that. So that was different.
Well, and on top of that, Jeff, you can't compare somebody's chapter 25 to your chapter 5.
Yeah.
You can't start off where your parents left off. End of story. Yeah. Does everyone want the 2,000, 25, 3,000 square foot home? Absolutely. I want a gold plated toilet. Guess what? Not in the cards.
Do you?
Gold
not
plated.
really.
It's been cold
I'll
on
get
the
you
ass,
one.
no?
Yeah, it'd be kind of cold, I think.
We'll get you one for your 50th birthday, buddy. Gold plated toilet. Washes your ass.
That'd be nice. That'd be really nice. Maybe like a bidet or something. That'd be cool.
So kind of
gives you a massage.
just kind of continue on life skills on the fly, mentioning I'm GTA Milton. Obviously with remote work and everything that we've seen through the pandemic, more and more people, that's why Niagara has boomed the way it has, which is where we're all located. People are making their way here, right? It's people are starting to go and get out of the fringe areas.
But it still comes after the GTA, like Talking Animals said. Everyone's still going to the GTA first when they're coming to Canada or trying to, right? So because it floods there, it ripples out, right? And that's
Yep.
how it works.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to understand the GTA is the most multicultural city in the world, whether we're ignorant
Huge.
to it or not. It's massive. And so, and if you've done, you just literally get a backpack and travel. You take Niagara and you put it in any other spot in the world, any spot with our amenities equivalent, multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah.
You go to California, you go to France, look at our access to the borders, look at our access to Toronto, to major airports. It is massive here. We are to Josh's point, we are very still undervalued. And even arguably Toronto relative to London, England, New York, LA,
100%.
undervalued big time.
Yeah.
Undervalued.
Toronto's a huge city, right?
Massive.
On the global market, it's huge. So
Massive
yes,
city.
But that's another thing to look at, though. When people go to the GTA, a lot of times the immigrants will come in, they go to the GTA, but what they do is they'll do what we won't do. They'll live with 10 or 15 people in a house because they see the value of the real estate. So if that's what they got to do to afford it, to get in the market, that's what they'll do. And when they make enough money off that house, they'll branch out and buy other houses. But they see the value, they'll overpay, and they'll do it any way they can. So really in real estate, and we've talked about this a few times today, you almost got to, it sounds bad, but beg, borrow, steal. Any way you can get in the market, the sooner you get in, the sooner you'll become financially stable through real estate. Because if you bought today, no matter what happens 5 years from now, it's going to be worth substantially more than it is today. Maybe not on a 1 year over cycle like we had last year. That was a correction through pandemic. But if you erase the pandemic completely, the gains you had and the loss you go back, you're probably still up from before the pandemic to where you are now.
Yeah.
In 20 years
on the fly, right? The Milton guy.
Yeah.
His issue is Milton, right? Milton is super pricey.
It's
if
insane.
you turn around and look at, Rockwood or Push Lynch or Guelph out in that market, you get a bit out of town, drive 10 minutes out, and you're going to see price changes the same as we see in Niagara. And then your other one, Talking Animals, Toronto is now in the top 15 cities most sought after in the world. And so obviously, Canada's safe. Everybody wants to bring their money here. Everybody wants to raise their kids here. So many international kids are coming here to go to school, and then their families come behind them. And, Toronto is very sought after. Is it undervalued? I don't see it's undervalued. I'd say Toronto is valued at, it's valued internationally now. So, the top 20 cities in the world, that's what Toronto competes with. Niagara is still that hidden gem as far as I'm concerned, being that hour and a half out of Toronto. But you look at Barrie, you look at Belleville, you look at London, they all were higher priced than us forever. And we caught up quick. And I'd still say we're a bit lower than most of those markets. But again, everything to have, right? It's got the 2 lakes, Buffalo, access. It's got
just look at what you've said, right? Like, we all know the area. You go 1 hour.
We take it for granted. Us who live here.
Yeah.
It's like being by Niagara Falls, right? Like, when's the last time you went and looked at the fall? You don't do it that often, right?
But you go an hour and a half the other way, you're in London. What the hell is there in London? Shit all. You got nothing. You go to
London nights.
And no offense, no, but I just mean in terms of, you know what I mean? Climate, you got a snow belt that goes through Barrie. You got a snow belt that goes through London, right? Like, we don't have to deal with any of that here. So, I mean, it is...
Well, and you've got skiing everywhere around us right here, right? We got golf courses everywhere around here. You've got places you can dock your boats everywhere around here.
It's a gem. It really is a gem.
And I do believe it's undervalued, but you can see developers coming here. Like, they're building everything around Niagara right now. There's condos going up. There's everything.
Another one about is it worthwhile? Makes sense buying new builds.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, so that's a good
one.
question. So Talking Animals, is the GTA seriously? That's not after we got that one. Does it make sense to buy new build? Because then this person starts off by saying, I hate that my parents bought a detached home in 2001 for $250,000. Trev, do you mind actually pulling up the interest rates from 2001 and just kind of to put some context to the answer? Because everything. Oh, here's Jill.
Hey, what's up, Jill?
Canada's expecting more.
Yeah, let me.
That's hilarious. Okay, we'll get.
I've got a.
That's a good question. You spelled etc. wrong, honey.
I'm just opening up Excel right now. I've got a spreadsheet for rate charts dating back to 2007. So let me. So this is the prime rate specifically on this. But here we go. Let me go.
In 2007, I'm going to guess it's going to be around 3.437.
So let me answer the
Higher?
Little.
There we go.
There's Carl. Hey, Carl.
Well,
Okay, you want to?
we were at like the last time we saw rates as high as what they are right now was 2007.
Can you zoom that
Right,
in? I
just
don't
prior
have
to the
bifocals
crash
on.
in the U.S.
You want to zoom that in there, bud?
What do you want me to go larger
Zoom in.
on?
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
There we go. So that's the actual prime rate by date, April 2007, up to why does it only say hold on, let me see here. Oh, did it not? For some reason, it didn't correct the dates here at the bottom, but it does. This giant spike here. I guess I just made an error when I created the new table, but this spike does actually take place with these rate increases starting here, where we were sitting 340. What was it? 2022. Right? Yeah, down to 245, and then it starts going up and jumping up to the 6.7 that it is currently.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you got to look at everything being relative. So, when Brad was talking about hiring on staff at an affordable living wage, the reality is that was never a thing back in 2001, right? Your stress tests were never a thing back in 2001. Your average income wasn't the same 23 years ago, 22 years ago. So everything's all relative on why prices were the way that they are. Now, personally, when I was leaving my condo to go to a new build, Boomers bought a house for the same price as a Netflix membership.
Pretty close.
What are we talking about? The $7.99 membership when it came to Canada,
it's
or
hilarious.
the current 20-something a month?
Oh, they're adding $8 on too this month.
So basically, I opted for a new build. Only reason is I don't know how a hammer works. So I love the fact that I could go to a builder, and I know when I bought that home, yes, it's higher than the normal market if I were to buy with a home, but I wouldn't have to worry about anything for about 10 years because of just the warranty that comes with it and everything of that nature. And I just love the fact that I'm getting everything that I want from that new build. Also, when you buy an older home, you don't know what skeletons are in the closet with that particular home, or if renovations were done correctly, or if it was done with the permit. So those are all a lot more due diligence has to be done. So it's really relative and subjective on to what you want to do. But
I think it's personal preference, right?
It's a personal preference.
It could be risky in the current market, though. With respect to new builds, not knowing exactly where they're going to go, right? So you can lock in somewhere, and they could still go down. So you could still lock in at a higher price. I don't believe that's the case. I do not believe that's the case, but
88 James, okay, here in St. Catharines, new condo complex in Old Gord's Place being built.
Yep.
Their hope, provided they get enough pre-sales, shovel goes in the ground, Q4 2023, but occupancy not being granted until 2026, right? That's so depending, to what Curry's saying. Okay, makes sense. New build, there's some advantages to it, but if it's a high-rise condo like you see, a lot of in Toronto, and we're starting to see more of here in Niagara, there's a lot more risk associated with that, right?
It's pure speculation when you're going through
the construction cycle takes so much longer, right? Because they're building houses upon houses vertically and not, out, sprawling. It's kind of, you're taking on a lot more risk. Whereas if you're buying Jeff, answer the question on a detached or semi-detached or townhouse. How long does it take you guys from shovel in the ground to the point that you can deliver the keys to a client with the build company?
Well, and a lot of that depends on the municipality.
Of course,
municipalities tell you 10 days for permits, and we're 2.5 months right now with Port Colborne. I'll throw them right under the bus. We're pissed about it.
With new builds, though, you're crystal ball gazing, right? You're crystal ball gazing a little bit.
It's pure speculation.
Resale, that at least today, this is the value of what you're paid.
Yeah.
Tomorrow or 3 weeks down the road, it could still change.
Well,
but at the time that you ink that deal, you know that value is there. But the same thing is on a new build.
Another very intelligent young man there, Chris Bach, wrote, depends who built your home. You got to do some due diligence on your builder too, right?
Yep.
Because just because it's a new build doesn't mean it's a great build, right? You gotta look at who you're buying from, what kind of allowances they have on it, what kind of reputation they have on that, right? Absolutely. Like builders are just like realtors, are just like lawyers, are just like everything out there, right? You got to do your due
shitty
diligence. Definitely. There's everything out there like that, right?
And you can go to Home Construction Regulatory Authority and Terrion's website. Consumers can go and check out builders. Are there any conciliations against them? So like bad strikes, see if there's been any issues, right? There are ways, because if somebody's going to ask it, or maybe somebody's thinking it, there are ways to do your due diligence on a new home builder.
The best thing I would say is talk to someone who's bought from them before and see what their after service
That's
is.
a very good
like, if they're willing to share that with you, right? But if you know it, ask on social media, has anyone built with this person? Go talk to those people, because I know there's a lot of builders in Niagara that you can hear horror stories from, and we hear about it all the time.
Now, right? Jeff, that's another point too, though, but you got to rely on your professionals as well. It's difficult sometimes with new builds, not the way that you do it, but the way that some of these people do the new builds, right? They may not feel as though they have an agent representative.
Well, yeah, right? Not all builders play nice with real estate agents at all.
Yeah.
Not all of them do.
So just like realtors a lot of times are going to know who your shitty builders are, you know what I mean? So, if you've got an agent, rely on your agent too, right?
That's the power of having a big brokerage like Royal LePage NRC. We've got 450 agents work in the Niagara region.
Of course.
We can put it out there. Has anyone had an experience with it?
Absolutely.
And more than likely, we will have had that, right? So you get some no bullshit answers from like Brad or from another agent from us that we can talk to them about, right? Which is good. Yeah. But here's an important thing. We got to go back to the lovely young lady here talking about something.
What?
I got to make sure I don't get in trouble after. Jill Collins.
Oh, yeah. Answer your wife's
There's a 2-year freeze right now, Jill, on buying.
There are, depending on their immigration status.
Correct. They could be PRs, right?
Correct. Well, I was told someone could just put it in someone else's name if they had to.
Well, you can always do
if
that.
There's a Canadian, there's going to be ways around it for sure. This ban on Brad. Actually, I want you to talk about that a little bit. This ban. I know we just did something from Royal LePage.
Putting it in somebody else's name is a straw buyer. It's a form of fraud.
Yep.
So
that doesn't happen in Canada, does it?
Well, it can, but the right answer is no.
I know. I think they just said if we assist on that right now with the was it CREA? It's a $10,000 fine if we're not assisting on that.
Anybody, same with us.
Starting at that.
Same as lawyers, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can do a trust agreement, right? Yeah. You can enter into a trust agreement behind the scenes with a non-resident.
What are you saying about it, Brad? What are you saying about the?
No, same as Josh. Like we've got a great form from CREA that covers off all the general aspects, because that act is very complicated, and all the lawyers that we're talking to, including Josh, about this stuff is it's not easy to figure out if they're exempt or not. And so basically what we're saying is get the form in front of the client. If they're not sure, get the lawyer involved, get everybody involved. Let's get a clear answer before we're writing a deal. It's always best to have your professionals involved. And, there are exceptions, and there's lots of exceptions that make sense. But you've got to talk to your lawyer and your realtor. And like I said, we've got that form. We're recommending that. And then after that, it's 2 years. It's not a big deal. Like we're talking 5 to 10% of buyers in any given market that could be affected. And I would say Niagara's probably got a higher concentration simply due to the fact that Niagara College and Brock University have such massive international programs, and they're so successful at bringing families here that we probably see a bit more of it. But there's still lots of ways to make it work. And if not, they buy a fourplex, because they can buy multifamily, they can buy commercial and still bring their money here. It's only tied to residential under 4 units. So again, talk to your professionals and we can still help you.
I think what Jill was referring to is they're Canada's saying 1.5 million people in the next 3 years supposed to immigrate to Canada. So that's probably saying where are they going to live, right?
Yes, 100%.
31. So to answer the question, how do they qualify to buy a house, condo, etc.? They qualify the same way everybody else does now. There used to be programs for new to Canada that were extremely lenient. Basically, money in the bank pulse. you got a mortgage. It doesn't work the same way anymore from that perspective.
Now we're running slowly out of time. We have about 10, 15 minutes left before, and knowing Brad's schedule, I got one from Carl from Muskoka here. Do you think that new builds in cottage country will retain their value as much or less than values in Toronto? Great question, Carl. Thanks for tuning in.
On the water? I wonder if it's on the water, because anything on the water is going to retain its value, I think, hands down.
I think everything over 5 years is going to go up, especially in Muskoka, right? Like, it's not going to go down, right? I think it's going to retain its value and increase.
Yeah, no. Our offices that service cottage country, waterfront still in high demand. We still don't have enough inventory. It's, again, people will pay that premium to be on the water. And when they want it out of Toronto, it's crazy, but it's all tied together. You know, even the fact that we've now got Starlink internet and all these rural internet services coming out, clients from Toronto are coming going, I want to buy this cottage, but I can't because I need to work from home 2 days a week. And I literally can't buy that cottage because of the location. That's been a game changer in cottage country. Waterfront's always strong, always a good investment, but always expensive. And then our other markets like Midland and Penetanguishene and even Barrie, they're such a huge draw because you're easy access to Toronto. You've got GO train right into Barrie. You can live in any of those markets and buy affordable price properties. And yeah, it's softened up a bit, but I would say they're not down as much as Niagara was because, again, their price was a bit lower north of Barrie, for example, Midland and Coldwater areas. But yeah, it's not going anywhere. The 400 to 450, Brandon and the rest of the guys will know, immigration to Canada every year. The numbers are only going to keep going up, and 60% start in GTA, which means, you know, right now Phil's saying we're short 1.8 million houses in Canada. And when you add on what's called 250,000 new people every year going into GTA, everybody else after 3-4 years tend to want to jump out. And Niagara, Barrie is that first jumping point, right? Get me out an hour or 2 hours out of Toronto. I can buy a detached house for my family for half the price of Toronto. Let's go.
Yeah, with a yard.
I think the important thing to say there for the Muskoka guy is, though, just you got to do a little due diligence when you're buying from a builder. You should look at how much the builder's charging you. Just because they're building new doesn't mean it's the right price. Because whenever you're talking to a builder, they're always talking square foot pricing. Okay, how much per square foot for building? So, you know, talk to a realtor, a local realtor there. Compare ones that have been built already compared to new builds and see what they're asking. But when people say, what's your square foot? I have a call a week from a realtor or a buyer or a person. What do you charge for square foot pricing? But every square foot pricings have different inclusions. Some might have appliances included. Some people might want to have in-floor heat. All kinds of different things are going to affect your square foot pricing. So you got to find out what you want, what the builder's going to charge you for it, and is that worth something comparable in the market out there that's already been established. But do a little due diligence before you buy.
Yeah. And Jeff, how long does it take you to build a house right now?
Shovel and ground detached, probably around 1,500 square feet, 6 months from hitting the ground.
Yeah. Cottage country,
probably double.
You're a year to a year and a half.
Yeah. You know what? The funny part is
red tape.
From saying to somebody, I want to build, you're probably 6 months just to get the stuff from the permit and permanent hand, and then 6 months to build. That's how long. And that's the thing Ford's trying to kind of speed up. But the stuff getting ready for building, it takes longer than building itself. It's crazy. And I can't imagine what cottage country would be like.
It's trades. Like the same process is, that timeline is relevant, but trades in cottage country, you'll call an electrician and they'll go, okay, I'll be out in 2 months. Because, you know, there's hunting season, there's fishing season, it's quality of life up there. And it's not like the city. They won't work 80 hours a week. They're like, I've got this much time. I'll see you in 2 months. And you go, well, I'm not going to wait. You call 6 other electricians and they go, well, I'm 2.5 months. How do you like me now?
Brad, I tell you, no shit. We got a cottage in Meaford on Georgian Bay. It's been a year. We built a garage. It's been a year. We're on our third electrician. We're sending somebody from here.
Give them the damn cottage for the week. Here you go. Do all my electrical. That's what you got to do. You got to barter with them, and they'll do it. I've got tons of guys that'll do that for you.
But up north, these guys, I guess there's so much work, right? And they're only working at their pace. I'm a northern kid. They're only working at their pace, man. That's it. Like Brad said, you don't like 2.5? Too bad. Go try and find somebody else.
Wasted Time Game said, my parents' neighbors built their home on a water table, 9-foot basements, and they have 4 sub pumps going 24/7.
4.
Their basement started to leak yesterday. What an idiot builder decided to build a 9-foot basement. So it's not so much, I'll just say this, and maybe Jeff can comment on it being a builder. It's the municipality. The municipality is the one that decides whether you build on a water table or not. The municipality is the one that does the zoning. They're the ones that decide.
They give the approval.
It's not so much the builder. It's the municipality. It's your council. It's your staff wherever you are that decides that. And actually, I feel sorry for the person who bought, and I feel actually sorry for the builder. Chris Bach, thank you very much for joining us over your lunch. We appreciate it. But Jeff, can you speak to that? Am I right? Am I wrong?
And all that? Oh yeah, for sure. Like the city's going to have to approve it or not, but the builder's going to have some kind of say how they want to go down. Like you can get a geotechnical report on it to see where your levels of soil are and where it's best to put it. Sometimes you might have to dig down a little bit further to get more solid soil so you can put your footings on it, right? So it depends on that, but really it's going to be dependent because the builder's going to own the land, or did the person own the land ahead of time? Did they do any kind of a geotechnical on it? If you go 9 feet down, you got to put a sump pump in no matter what. But
Didn't we put something in the Dane agreements, Jeff?
In the Dane. See, for us being a builder in Dane City, it's a high water table there. So we have to put a sump pump in there, but we offered a sump pump backup. And here's a great service announcement right now, because spring's coming up. If you have a sump pump, get a battery backup on there, because there's been power failures everywhere. I shit my pants last night because we had a power failure at our house, and we have like the deepest, we're 9 feet in the ground here too. But I have a swale down the side of my house, and there's a power failure at 1:30 last night. I could hear everything go out. And I was in a panic because if the power didn't come on for a day, my basement was going to flood, and I just finished my basement. So my plumber's literally phoning me right now because I'm like, give me a battery backup. I need it right away, right? Like I want one right now. But if you're on a septic, you can't have a water pressure backup. You have to be on city water. So if you're in the city, they have a Liberty sump pump out there that works off water pressure. So if the power goes out, it'll automatically kick it on. Okay. The problem is if you're on vacation, say it's February, like right now, you're in Cuba, you're in Jamaica, you're wherever the heck you are, there's a power failure, you're in a high water table, and your power's out, your basement's going to flood. Okay. And that's not on the builder. That's not on municipality. That's on the owner who's uneducated about having the wrong protection on their sump pump. Okay. That's the only way your basement's going to flood. So if you've got 100%. A sump pump, know about it, get a backup on there. If you've got 4 sump pumps on there, I don't know how big your basement is. Like I have a 3,000 square foot basement. One sump pump works it, but I have a swale on the side too.
They got a minor variance, they said.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't see a municipality granting a minor variance to build on a water table. Sounds a little bit.
Well, yeah, a minor variance to go down, though. I don't know if you'd get a minor variance to go down on it, right? And the city does want the money and all that, but they have to protect it because you can go after the city if they approve
100%
it.
You could.
But like,
how much does a battery pack cost there, Collins? How much does a battery pack cost?
A backup? I'm looking into it right now. If you've got a battery or a non-battery backup one, which is a better way to go, the Liberty sump pumps, they're about $550 install. The guy who does it for us, and you're about $300 to buy it. So about $850, and you're fully covered. Like you're fully covered. Like, so I don't understand why people don't have it. You might have to bring some water connection close to the sump pump, so it might have to be investigated. A battery backup, I was told is about the same, but you look on like Google or Amazon, and they're like $200 to $300 to buy, but you got to get them installed too. So I think about
what's
$1,000.
The installation on a battery sump, Jeff?
I don't know. I was talking to my plumber. He's already told me I got to call him, but there's something you got to connect. I don't know what the hell. I'll get it done. I'll do it in the next podcast. I'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
But if you're on city water, get a Liberty. If you're on septic, you got to get a battery backup because you can't use that. So I've got to get that done because I am going to lose my mind if my basement floods. But if I take the proper precautions, there shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Jeff, don't be cheap. Just go buy a generator.
I got one.
Well, if you got a generator, then you don't lose power.
Well, the whole house generator, you know how much those cost right now? They're crazy. And I am cheap right now. Give me a year and I won't be cheap. $15,000 for a whole house generator right now.
What's that commercial? They advertise them all the time there.
I put one in for less. If your power goes out, That with a backup sump pump, and for the look at the value of your house.
Yeah.
If you know you're on a hard water table, if it's 10 grand and you know you've got peace of mind, put the generator in, put in the sump pump with a backup sump pump. You never lose hydro, you never use heat. It's a small investment for that type of property.
Next year, it's on the table. I gotta ease the spending right now. It's been 2 years.
I'm gonna text Gil right now. You'll have one next week.
Yeah.
And if
Well,
if
thank
that
you. It's a
doesn't
bonus.
happen-
I'm getting a bonus.
if that doesn't happen, here's to saying about a year from now, Jeff still won't have the backup generator, guaranteed.
I will have a battery backup this week. The backup generator, we'll see. We'll see.
Sure, buddy.
What did Jill say there? That's the pause on overseas buyers?
No, you already answered that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh.
Well, I think this is a good segue to wrap it up, because I know we've got a couple minutes and Brad's on a schedule, so we got to respect that schedule.
Thank you for coming on, Brad.
Yeah, Brad. Great job.
Brad, thanks very much. We had a lot of questions. Thank you to everyone who
This
was
is the most
watching us on
questions
their
we've
lunch
ever
hour.
had, I think. So, Brad, you're going to have to be a repeat.
Yeah,
You're getting all the
definitely.
traffic here.
I'm pretty sure
Getting
we
all
had
the
more
traffic.
questions when we were talking about pooping in the RV, but just throwing it out there.
Well,
That was from your wife
Talks.
after the podcast. We're talking
Scro
during
Talks.
It's
We had a
definitely
lot
up
of
there.
questions for
Scro Talks, yeah.
Scro Talks was pretty good too.
That was a
Good audience engagement during this episode for
Yes,
sure.
it was great though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brad, last thoughts before we wrap up.
Takeaways.
What's going to happen this year in the market, Brad? That's what everybody wants to know. When do I buy? When do I sell?
Which day?
Right now, between now and June is when I'm buying as well. As the same as Josh. I'm out looking now. I don't want to bash the media, but the media makes their living on negative. And if you're scared of interest rates, it's because of the media. Talk to your mortgage professional, your realtor, your lawyer. If you look at the numbers, it's a great time, first-time buyers, investment, upsizing, and everything other than downsizing. And even for downsizing, there's folks that need to make that decision. But, make fact-based decisions and you won't go wrong. Listen to the market or look at the media, but then get professional advice from your trusted pros and these gents here who are all sweethearts.
Beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Pumpkin.
We'll pay you later. We'll pay you later, Brad.
Scotch is in the mail.
Yeah.
Brandon will drop you some scotch off.
Very well said, Brad. Ken,
all right. Well,
Ken commented it. Josh,
if you want to take us out.
Sink Lich, thanks for the sponsorship.
Oh boy.
Help us help you stay informed. We're out.
Cheers.